Good evening, community. This is Terrance. Ryan's here as well, and we're going to give the quick recap for the event that we did on Saturday for sociopaths, genuine partners, and just this is the first part of a very expansive series, and we just need to get some base level information out there. So when Ryan and me start talking about much more complex issues that happen in the relationship dynamics, as well as high level sociopath and psychopath behavior, you have a baseline that we can, that's just there. So we don't have
Mhm.
to keep going back to, very easy information.
And with that being said, this is not an expansive or exhaustive list. We're going to have multiple series like this touching on many of the different fundamentals. And a lot of what Terrance and I are going to be talking about in each one of these sessions plays very well together.
Exactly. Oh, I was just gonna say, like we can't get into like the deeper stuff like box theory, linear credit harmonics, what we actually use in criminal investigations to locate sociopaths and psychopaths and to, really evaluate the character of other individuals out there. We can't get that far if we don't get through some basic information.
Very true.
All right. Take us from here, Ryan.
Man, we always forget to introduce ourselves with the nice photos that we took.
You know what?
with that with that being said, this is the recap. As you can see, the last event we did 51, we opened spots for 51 people and we had 85 on the wait list, and this was taken before even more people joined the wait list. So we wanted everyone watching this recap who either just found our group or were not able to make it or were even on that wait list. When we're going through this live, we allow live real-time question and discussion. And it's very difficult to do that with above 50 people. And we open it for 50 people only knowing that maybe just a few are going to interact. But even then, we want to give people who are attending real bang for their buck, so to say. We want to give them the attention that they deserve when they're asking a question. And if we have 50 people in a row or 80 or 100 people in a row lining up, then we're not able to get through what we want to get through. With that being said, we are posting our new event very soon. So please keep a lookout for it and RSVP whenever you get that notification.
Absolutely.
Now,
I'll just real quick, it's going to be on the 29th of March, and it's
yep.
going to be very similar format to the original event. The only difference is since we're getting so much interest, we're going to have one event in the afternoon and another one in the evening. So probably 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then the other event will be right around 7:30. So that with that at least 100 people will have the opportunity. And if
Mhm.
you can't make it, we are still going to make a recording available of the recap. Now, we're never going to record the actual event because people are often making themselves vulnerable. They're talking about real things that are happening in their lives. They're asking real questions. And we want that to be more private and not to just put somebody's business all out there. So if you want that personalized interaction, then you're going to have to go to the RSVP. If you're just okay watching after the fact, just the breakdowns, then we'll always have the video breakdowns available within 1 to 2 days after the original event.
Absolutely. That being said, this is a recap of genuine partners versus psychopaths and people who are extremely problematic. And what I'm going to be going through with searching or seeking that genuine partnership is some basics on how to build a genuine connection in a practical sense. So, at the very beginning, when we want to connect with somebody, one of the most important variables that builds upon itself exponentially with every interaction is taking a sincere interest in somebody. In our previous talks, we have introduced the idea and the model of ACER or ACE, the authenticity, credibility, empathy, and sometimes we throw in responsibility in there. And these four steps take authenticity, credibility, empathy, and responsibility to its practical level. So the first thing we want to look at when somebody's in front of us is, are we paying attention to them? Are we engaged in conversation? Are we making eye contact? And are they doing the same? Are they distracted by the things around them? But it goes further than that. While we're speaking to each other, are we actually paying attention to the detail of what's going on and what's being said? So we can simply ask ourselves, are we focused on them and are they focused on us? And is it reciprocal? So let's pay attention. The next part is questions. And this comes in two parts. Not only questioning the interaction and thinking, do I want to move forward with this? But asking questions to get to know the other person at a sincere level. We want to ask deep, meaningful questions. These are things that get to the core of who that person is. And one of the paths that we can use to understand who somebody is at their core is not simply their likes or dislikes, but how they choose to make decisions, especially in tough situations. And we can be a little tactful or clever with it. I'm not going to get too much into that. Really, what we want to ask them is something like a great obstacle in their life or a great triumph. Tell me that story. Let me ask how difficult it was for you or why you made that decision. And this opens up a world of perhaps what they're passionate about, or it tells you how they struggle through something or why they choose to do the right thing even in difficult situations. We don't want to ask them, what's your favorite weather? What's your favorite color? Okay, moving on. While we're asking those deep, meaningful questions, are we asking follow-up questions? And if we're questioning this entire action, we decide, you know what, maybe this isn't working out for us. What are we doing about it? How are we following up on the interaction? Are we moving the conversation forward? And are we making a true attempt to understand each other? And the last part is execution. What I mean by execution is not killing the date, not saying, this sucks, I'm done, I'm never going to see them again. Although that might be a choice that is valid. What I mean by execution is after we pay attention, we're asking meaningful questions, we're following up on the conversation. Do we want to make the decision to move forward? Do we want another date? Do we want another interaction? And if so, what am I going to do about it? The execution of our plans falls on us. So let's not play games and wait for people. Let's decide if we want to move forward. Let's be proactive about it. That type of proactive decision making is what helps keep relationships together for a lifetime, because it shows somebody else that you are putting them as some sort of priority and not simply throwing them to the side and saying, I'll go with the flow. So when we're learning from these questions and we're following up, am I doing something with that information? And am I taking this forward to the next step? Or am I finally deciding this is not for me? They don't meet our non-negotiables, and they could be a wonderful person, but they're just not on the same life path and purpose as I am. And that's totally fine. So taking sincere interest in somebody is what helps build a genuine connection, and a genuine partner does this with you naturally. Now, another part to really connecting with somebody is providing genuine support to them. This is not simply, yeah, how can I help? Yeah, what do you want? Oh, yeah, here's $5. Oh, you're having a hard time. Yeah, okay, tell me about it. It's not that. It's something more than that. It's, do they trust me enough to tell me a very deep or meaningful part of their life, something that they don't tell a lot of people? And how do I handle that? So with men, especially, because Terrance and I are both men, and we can talk about this at length very quickly. A righteous, good man never forgets who truly builds him up, and he will only trust very few with that opportunity. And so, somebody who knows how to listen to his vulnerabilities, his weaknesses, and his shortcomings, and instead of beating him down, build him up, is somebody who is irreplaceable and unforgettable. So, we ran through this video at the time, which I'm going to play now, from Rocky. And he is at his best friend's funeral right here, getting ready to, I think he just buried him, and he's placing the championship belt with his photo on it back on his grave. This is a man who supported him in everything, in everyday life, in training. And in the background, he's saying and screaming to Rocky, there is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. These are two men who put everything on the line for each other and supported each other no matter what. So when somebody tells a man there is no tomorrow, and from this movie, it was don't put it off. Your goals can't just be dreams. They've got to be actionable. You've got to work on it, and don't you dare give up. And he was right there training with him the entire time. So a genuine partner truly asks not only how they can help you, but they do so for your best interest, not some ulterior motive or their own. And everything that I'm talking about, whether I say you or them or we, the key takeaway is reciprocity. Are we doing it together for each other? Because reciprocity builds sincerity, durability, and sustainability in a relationship. Now, again, because we're talking a lot about men in this from this recap, the value of competence is extreme. Men from a very early age, we check each other. If even my best friend, who I know, love, and trust, if he tells me he did something amazing, I'm going to ask him, show me. I'm going to ask him, show it to me, recreate it, prove it to me. Not because I don't believe him, but there's just this idea of built-in checking when it comes to competence. Is this person who they really say they are? Can they do what everyone says they can do? And when somebody, a woman is interested in man and comes in front of him, the person that they say that they are needs to be something that they're also able to show. Because within that first 30 to 45 minutes, a man is very easily able to tell whether this is someone he wants to take that step further with or not. And a lot of the times that simply comes down to, do all of the things that they're saying and doing fall in line? And if they do, this opens up a little bit more interest to a man. But if it doesn't, we kind of already start to check out and say, I'm going to categorize this person instead of a love interest or marriage potential, perhaps a friend or acquaintance. And we value it quite a lot. Terrance and I check each other all the time. When I tell him, hey, I've got this amazing new tool and I want to show it to you and it can help you, and you say, oh, really? Show me, prove it to me. If I tell him I figured something out, he says, okay, let's get on a call, explain it to me. It's just something natural. So being aware of that is just a small golden nugget of application that can really move into our interactions forward. But while we're trying to build those genuine connections with hopefully potential genuine partners, I wanted to just bring up entertainment, because entertainment can be a distraction. And what I mean by entertainment being a distraction is when we have fun with somebody, that fun and spark and chemistry and that good feeling we get is not in of itself a fundamental requirement that qualifies a relationship. Although we need it to be part of one, we need to get along with our partners, we should want to have fun. That in of itself does not mean this person is good for us. And so a lot of the times having fun with somebody still doesn't really tell us who they are at their core. It just says, hey, I get along with them. But it doesn't tell us that we get along with them when they're mad at us or when we're mad at them or when life's problems get in the way or when we find out that we have very differing viewpoints on something and we don't understand each other. So entertainment helps us understand whether we click with somebody, but it is not the end all be all. And we need to go back to those four steps that I was talking about of attention, question, follow up, and execution. We need to really be paying attention to what they're saying and telling us, but what also they're doing in front of us. And we need to ask more meaningful questions to understand who they are outside of what we do for fun. Before we get to Terrance's next slide, I just wanted to leave Terrance the ability to cover anything that I might have missed real quick. Terrance?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one thing I would add is the reason that we chose the specific video clip from the movie Rocky 4 is we want to highlight themes in videos and especially video clips that are extremely popular in male circles. So
Mm-hmm.
that movie came out, oh man, I I I forgot. Is it 20 years? I forgot how old Rocky 4 is. But that is the most shared, viewed, and commented scene from the Rocky franchise outside of the workout, the workout clips of him. And you read the comments section, you'll see comments of, I wish I had a friend like that, or I used to have a friend like that and he passed away, or it makes me think about my friend and I think of his brothers. And you have comments like that that are, like 19, 22,000 times. So when we have that kind of social proof, it lets you know that this is an aspect of male bonding that should be studied. And just a little tip out there is if you watch that movie or you really dissect that scene and talk about like, oh, I saw that scene, it'll seem very impactful. That immediately creates a conversation with a man if you're on a date or something with him. And that's how you find it, like avenues to get into his emotional state. A lot of times people will claim that individuals lack emotional intelligence, and the truth is people just lack the intelligence to access that person's emotions because that is a skill. And this is not a skill that is often taught in school. This is something that has to be taught person to person. So, like, I just know coming from criminology and criminal investigations, if someone was able to get into the psychology of an offender, they will often admit to crimes. They will tell you why they did it. They will tell you so much about their lives. If if something is strong enough to make someone act, it is equally strong enough to make them talk. You just have to find the right key. So that's just one I wanted to add on before we start talking about sociopaths and psychopaths and narcissists.
Excellent. By the way, I hate to do this to you, Terrance, but that movie came out in 1985.
Well, man, I am old.
but
I'm
but
getting old.
dude, that goes to show what you're saying is so much even more important about that social currency that it's older than we remember, but it's still passing the test of time.
Yeah, it's
And it
still
is
relevant.
cross generational as well. This is something that a young man in his teens and somebody in his 70s or 80s from all walks of life, whether they ever went to war or were an athlete or weren't, can all connect with.
1000%. It's you have Gen Alpha, Gen Z, all the way to the boomers. All of them can feel the sentiment in that video clip. So, just fantastic. We have literally thousands of other examples like this. I mean, this is what me and Ryan do, every day is just finding more information like this. And, we're going to be experimenting with different platforms on what's the best way to share this. But so, just every every couple weeks, we should see an improvement in the content as we get more and more used to expressing it. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So I had to edit a small little bit out because, we're still getting used to the technical side of using Zoom. So, yeah, that was the cut. So now we're dealing with sociopaths, psychopaths. I wish more sociopaths, psychopaths, and problematic people looked like this, where you could just look at them and say, "Ooh, yeah, that's not good." No, well, let me stay away from him. But often these people are very good at mimicking competence. So we're gonna go through some crucial criminological information and go through a couple slides and basically get a basic foundation of what we should know before we start taking this to the next level. So here's some crucial facts. Crime incidence is greater than crime prevalence. So what that means is there's a lot of crime out there, but most crime is committed by a small segment of the population. So I remember investigating burglaries, and in a lot of communities, if you take 5 to 10 people off the streets, that might equal a 50 to 60% reduction in burglaries. And this is what we want to understand when it comes to relationships. A lot of people are dating the same person in the same typology of an individual. And that person is creating a majority of the problems out there. So somebody will say, "Hey, I keep dealing with these narcissists, I keep dealing with these players." And it's like, yes, because that type of person might have 50 or 60 victims within a year. And if we're not aware of that, it might seem like the entire world is untrustworthy. And it's like, well, no, if you just keep finding yourself in the crosshairs of this type of person, they're going to engage in problematic behavior. The second part is the clearance rate for most assaults and homicides are under 50%. And this is important because that means most crimes go unsolved. Most crimes go unreported and most crimes go unsolved. So there are more problematic people out there in the world than is reflected by stats. I'm not a huge believer in stats because so much of crime and problematic encounters with other individuals are never recorded. So it's always considerably higher than what the stats are going to say. So the stats might say 4 or 5% of the population might be a sociopath or a psychopath. It's way higher than that. It just has to be because so much of reporting comes from either individuals admitting to something or individuals coming within the criminal justice system and then we become aware of them. And that's just by that time, that person has committed so many other violations. And then you have the people that are just never caught. Next is technology and social media are enabling manipulative individuals such as sociopaths, psychopaths, and narcissists to become more effective at deception and exploitation. And this is very important. Problematic people get a PhD in being a problematic person. So this is what they do. This is the type of creature they are. They are a predator. They look at other individuals as a resource to be exploited. So they're constantly getting better at that. However, the interesting facet to this is they're going to be following a template usually. So, like school shooters often follow a template based on previous school shooters. Narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths often follow a template that was created by other narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths. So, if you understand the template, then you can often predict the behavior. And we're going to start talking more and more about that. I call it game trails. So, like when you're trying to hunt animals, you look for game trails where these animals are usually at. So, what we're going to be showing is the game trails that psychopaths, sociopaths, and narcissists often go to, and what kind of content do they read. It's going to be real fun stuff when we get to that. So, here's the basic elements of all criminal acts. You're going to have an opportunity, you're going to have an ability, and you're going to have a desire. So crime can be prevented when we remove an offender's desire, ability, or opportunity. It only takes getting rid of one. And that's why it's so important to have the knowledge of how to profile an individual, because there's always going to be individuals that have that desire. They're always going to have that ability to reach out to people. Now, what we can do is destroy that opportunity. What we can do is prevent them from having access to us through us understanding their modus operandi for how they operate. Next, problematic people mimic niceness. Now, what they can't do is mimic kindness. And we're going to go deep into this concept. This is why, like, I'm a huge believer that nice guys finish last because they should finish last. A lot of times, niceness is actually a manipulative tactic. What I'm gonna show right quick is a short video, and this video is one of the best videos I've ever seen that really shows how to evaluate a problematic person quickly. And we're just going to skip ahead a little bit. So we have somebody at a restaurant eating, and I want you to notice the coldness in that individual. And notice that the child is staring at that person, and the child can sense something's off. There's a lack of warmthness around this person. Also, notice the person is by themselves. Look at those eyes. Look at the lack of friendliness. Notice there's the lack of eyebrow movement, the fake smile. Always recognize when people are giving you fake smiles, where the bottom part of the cheek doesn't match the eyes, it doesn't match the forehead. This is it. This is what they do. They mimic. So she can see the little girl is responding positively to him. And she can see, oh, this is what I'm not doing right. I have to do that. Now she takes and tries to modify that smile, but it's still off. There's something off about it. There's a lack of warmth in this expression. However, if you're not really cognizant of it, you can be fooled by this person. And now this is the very important part. He can sense something's off about her. There's something off about her. There's something off about the way that she's presenting herself, and he recognizes it. And a lot of times people, their behavior is off-putting, but we stop paying attention. And there we go. That's the true version of her. Hostile, dangerous, manipulative. And look how happy she is after she calls that assault, after she hurt the little girl. And what the other thing I wanted to add real quick is notice how the mother wasn't paying attention. This is such an important part of problematic people. I worked crimes against children for years, often, over and over and over again. We people put dangerous individuals around their children, and they didn't see these signs. I could see these signs within 10 to 15 minutes of viewing that person, because everything that they're showing was camouflage. It was all false. But if you ask certain questions, if you do background checks on people, real background checks, I'm not talking about just a regular, what we used to call eye chat. I mean, look into that person's past, figure out what kind of content they view. Somebody's Instagram and YouTube recommended bars will tell you a whole lot about what that person is really about. But I digress because we're not going to go all into that right now, but we will in the future. Um,
One more thing on that is, as much as Terrance is an expert, or I might be an expert in pointing certain things out, that man in that video didn't need to be an expert. Most of us had that gut feeling that something is off. And that gut feeling doesn't tell us what is off, it tells us that there's something wrong. This doesn't mean somebody is bad. or evil or dangerous, but it tells us that they might be. There might be a problem, and we should listen to it. Now, with that being said, hopefully through these many different uh, sessions that we're going to be doing in these group meetups is that we're going to give you a little bit more specific information to kind of pinpoint what's going on. So that guy didn't need to know all of this theory and all this stuff. He just needed to know the smile looks wrong. She changed it. Something feels wrong. And if we get to that level, and just being a little bit more self-aware, and then like I said, paying attention to what's going on, we can start to recognize problematic encounters and problematic people who are in front of us a lot quicker rather than later on.
1000%.
Yep.
Yep.
What's the red flag of the day, Terrance? What did we go over?
The red flag of the day is always watch out for somebody trying to isolate you very early in a relationship. This is usually not a psychologically healthy individual. And that's why I wanted to show a picture of these zebras. The greatest attribute that the zebras have to stay alive and to get off the dinner table of a lion is the herd. And when we're out in the world, we need to have our version of a herd. We need a support system. Like me and Ryan do this for a living. However, we're constantly going out and getting recommendations from other people. I'm constantly taking information and I'm sifting through it and I show it with a bunch of other experts. When I was doing investigations, we would have three individuals reviewing somebody at the same time. And it would be constantly, hey, what did you see there? What did you see there? What are your thoughts? So when we're out in the relationship world, you have to designate an expert in your life or experts in your life that can help you qualify and disqualify people. If you don't have a good support system with your family, then you gotta find high level friends. If you don't have that, then I would suggest you join certain high level communities, high level support groups. Get around men and women who are married and have been married for a while.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody you're thinking about dating, bring that person around because often people that are married, they're very territorial around their peace and their happiness and the protection of their friends. They see things single people often don't see because they see through the mirror of the false flag single bachelor. So again, very important. Somebody else you might want to think of and people would be surprised of it, divorce attorneys. Divorce attorneys are really good at reading individuals, reading problematic individuals. And yeah, I have a number of clients out there before they met me. They had really nasty divorces, and the divorce attorney themselves said, "Hey, next time you're thinking about adding someone to your life, bring them over here so I can evaluate them." You know, I don't care if it's 250, $300 to have, them talk or evaluate that individual. That could save you 3 years of turmoil if you could have found out within 30 minutes that this person was a problem.
Mm-hmm. Well
Um,
said.
yeah, next, the problematic people's nature. And this is the benefit that we have is they look at human connections as a means to extract value from others. And individuals who are naturally inclined to exploit others often become vulnerable to the effects of drift theory. And drift theory is the way I behave in certain situations ends up drifting to other ways that I handle situations. So if somebody is a pure predatory creature, a narcissist, a sociopath, a psychopath, and they don't really care about people, then when push comes to shove, when they want something, they do not care about the mindset of another individual. You will see a lack of empathy. This shows up a lot of times with how somebody drives. It's more important for them to get what they want, even if they have to put other motorists at risk. I'm talking about the kind of individual that they don't use any signals, they cut people off, and they will often do this. under the veil of a tinted car. And I don't mean just they'll tint the windows on the side. They completely tint their vehicle around. You want to take away that accountability. Another thing I want to bring up is using the word no. I'm a huge proponent that no is a complete sentence. I don't need to go into an extreme detail of why I'm saying no. No is a boundary. And if somebody is my friend, if somebody is my significant other, the only thing I want to hear out of their mouth is trying to understand more about me, about why I'm saying no. They should not be trying to manipulate me into saying yes. That's often a sign of a problematic relationship. Okay. So that was just a baseline, and I'm just want to show you some of the things we're working on. So right now, me and Ryan are working on a Patreon as well as a Facebook group because Meetup is a decent app. We're not completely convinced it's the best app out there for sharing articles, for sharing quotes, and for sharing a lot of like the video content we have, especially because this group is growing at an exponential rate. This group isn't even 3 weeks old, and we're over 260 members. And as of right now, me and Ryan have spent zero money on marketing. So once we start spending money on marketing, once we, move to that 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 plus member group, we're definitely going to need a more efficient way to get our content out there to everyone. So this is what we have in the pipeline. We're probably going to launch the free Patreon and the free Facebook group probably on the 29th. And it's probably going to be free for the first 500 to 1,000 members and kind of go from there. And then we'll judge because we want to make sure that, especially people that are really serious about changing their life and really want the information, we got to give them the priority. And with the messages that we're receiving, it's clear that there's a number of people that are tired of the relationship games that the majority of the population is dealing with. And our whole thing is this: we want higher quality connections. If that means saying no to 100 people to get to that one person, I would recommend that because that one person will not just 10x, but they'll 100x your life compared to the average individual that isn't really doing the work, the average individual that says they're making life plans, they're not really making any plans, the average individual that's it's worse than providing little value, they provide negative value. And what's happening is the average relationship is looking like a dumpster fire. So we're talking about those high quality relationships. And with that said, that was the recap. Um, Stay tuned for the next event. The next event is going to be on the 29th. I'm going to be posting it very soon to sign up. We're going to have an afternoon and an evening session, and also look forward to the new content. We're going to be posting content on the community tab every couple days. And I put the YouTube in there if you want exclusive information as well. Just subscribe to my YouTube, and we'll be seeing you soon. We'll be seeing you in the future. I mean, anything else? Any other housekeeping out there, Ryan?
Absolutely not. Sounds good, man. Like Terrance said, just keep an eye on that discussions tab where we're going to be posting a lot of our updates. And if you have any questions or comments or concerns, please make sure to let us know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.